When I decided to go no contact for 90 days, I thought I would force him to realize how important I was. I imagined that my silence would make him miss me, run back to me, beg me take him back. But the truth was not like that. Instead, I realized something far more important. It wasn't his behavior, but my behavior during that time that would determine my future. This 90-day journey taught me about love, about freedom, and most importantly, about myself. It showed me that sometimes letting go of someone else is not a failure, but the greatest victory in life. The moment I decided to stay silent, I imagined he would panic, call me, text me, even find every possible way to see me. But in reality, the first few days were days when he felt relieved. No more pressure, no more difficult conversations, no more obligation to meet my emotional needs. He threw himself into work, friends, gym, even updating his dating profile. On the outside, he appeared free. But that was only avoidance. Inside, he was running from his emotions. That relief was not peace. It was adrenaline, a way for the brain to avoid confronting loneliness and absence. During this time, he hardly thought about me, but that made me feel more pain than ever. I wrote messages I didn't send, checked social media, questioned whether my decision was right. It was an imbalance. I hurt, and he was temporarily free. This taught me an early lesson. In love, you cannot control someone else's emotions, but you can control your own reactions. After about 10 days, the adrenaline started to wear off. Distraction activities were no longer as effective as before. This was when the cracks began to appear. He started noticing my absence, sometimes when seeing something funny he wanted to share, or when a bad day passed, and I was no longer there. This was also when social media became an emotional radar. He secretly checked my stories, posts, and activity to see if I still thought about him. If he saw me sad, it comforted him because it meant he still had some control. If he saw me happy and independent, it triggered a feeling of insecurity inside. From my perspective, this was a moment of clarity. He was still not ready to change. He was not ready to face real emotions, but my absence was beginning to leave a mark. This was also when I realized that silence was not meant to scare them, but to create space for myself. Around day 40, reality began to sink in. I had truly removed myself from his life. This was the grieving phase. He started reviewing everything without the protective filter. He remembered the joyful moments, private jokes, and the comfort that only I could bring. They began to recognize their own avoidant patterns, how they pushed me away when we got close, how they went silent when I needed communication, and how they criticized things I reasonably wanted. During this phase, some will send test messages, simple phrases like, "Hey, hope you're doing well," or "I saw this and thought of you." These messages are not genuine attempts at connection, but rather emotional checks, seeing if you are still willing to open the door. For me, this was a major lesson. How you respond determines how they feel. If you reply quickly and warmly, they feel safe, but at the same time, they lose motivation to change. If you remain cold and distant, it triggers deep internal awareness within them, sometimes leading to real change. By the final days, I was very different from before. I had rediscovered myself, rebuilt my routines, stopped obsessively checking social media, and had even started dating again. Not to replace him, but to remind myself that I am still lovable and valuable. He sensed this change, even without direct contact. Some avoidants, if they have truly gone through self-reflection, will genuinely reach out, sending long messages, wanting to meet in person, acknowledging mistakes, and expressing a shift in how they think. But the real magic wasn't in their change. It was in how I reacted at this point. I no longer felt desperate or chased. I was calm, perhaps felt some sadness, but most importantly, I recognized my inner freedom. The true victory is I reclaim myself. Not them, not the relationship, but me. I no longer needed them to feel whole. I had healed myself, rediscovered my value, and stood strong independently. 1. You cannot control others, but you can control yourself. They may avoid, test, or regret. The only thing you can control is your own reactions and behavior. 2. Silence is not a weapon to punish, but an opportunity to grow. No contact time allows you to reconnect with yourself, understand your value, and draw lessons from past relationships. 3. Your freedom is your true power. When you rebuild your life, happiness, and personal value, no one can manipulate or control your emotions anymore. 4. They will react in their own way, but that does not define your worth. They may change, repeat old patterns, or move forward positively. Regardless, you have already won yourself. You don't need them to come back to prove that you are worthy of love. Choosing yourself, your happiness, and your own standards is the true victory. Through these 90 days, I realized that loving an avoidant person is not a failure if you maintain your boundaries. It's not that they don't matter, but you matter more in your own life. When you step out of the habit of checking social media, out of the fear of losing them, you finally see the feelings, patterns, and growth of both parties clearly. I realized that deep love does not break you. The only thing that can truly hurt you is choosing the wrong person at the wrong time. And when you love yourself, when you recognize your own value, you have won it all. Victory over dependency. Victory over fear. Victory over heartbreak. 90 days of no contact is not just a period of silence. It is a time of rebirth, a time to heal, and a time to conquer yourself. Looking back, I no longer feel emptiness or pain. I feel peace, confidence, and wholeness, ready for whatever comes next in my life. Victory is not when they come back to you. Victory is when you no longer need them, when you reconnect with yourself, when you build a full and free life. The most beautiful love is when you love yourself first, not for someone else's approval, but to become the strongest version of yourself.